Kitco Mining special coverage of BMO's Global Metals, Mining and Critical Minerals is brought to you by First Majestic Silver.
Hello and welcome back to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris, here at the 2025 BMO Global Metals, Mining and Critical Minerals Conference in Hollywood in Florida. Gold prices are flying and there are smiling faces all around this event. And to tell me why is our host, Managing Director of Metals and Mining Group at BMO Capital Markets, Josh Goldfarb. Josh, welcome to Kitco.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here.
Congratulations, Josh, on hosting another great conference. And of course, many thanks to allowing Kitco to be part of that.
Oh no, it's great having you guys here. And I'd have to say, it's not just me, it's a big team here that puts on this conference. And so we're really excited to be here in Florida at the end of February every year.
It is quite a Herculean effort, but I think the rewards are worthwhile. Everybody says it is the best event on the mining calendar and the most important mining investment event.
Well, we appreciate that, and you know, the event is what it is because of everybody who's here, and so it's great getting everybody together, especially at the start of the year. It's just a great time in the calendar with earnings out for a lot of companies, guidance out. It's just a lot to talk about at this time of the year.
Absolutely, I will underscore that. Rising copper and gold prices, you're now starting to see those come through on balance sheets. As you mentioned, many companies have now reported their 2024 financial results. A lot of smiles all around there. But I guess the crucial question there is, great results from the companies, but is investor interest returning to the sector?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of optimism out right now. You know, as you noted, you know, on the gold side, gold is up 10-15% year to date, you know, depending on what day and hour you measure that. The equities are, you know, outperforming. You know, they're doing their thing. They're giving investors leverage. We've got record institutional investor numbers here this year. We're starting to see more generalists across the complex. Funds are bringing more people this year than we've seen before. So yeah, definitely a renewed sense of optimism in the sector.
You're in a very unique position because you're often in the deal room, whether it's an M&A transaction or a financing transaction. So I think you've got a very specific and unique insight into the workings of the sector. What are some of the sort of trends you're seeing in the mining and metal space at the moment? What are investors looking for?
Yeah, look, I think you know, as the commodity price runs, investors want to see the free cash flow generation, the margin growth, which we're seeing out of companies as they put their results out. You know, for a period of time, there was a focus on internal optimization. Investors wanted companies to be inwardly focused. I think, you know, now growth is certainly starting to become a topic of discussion, both on the corporate side and the investor side. And, you know, where is that next phase of free cash flow growth going to come from?
You've anticipated my next question for you, Josh, because I think recent years, the vibe at this conference has been one of capital discipline, and that now does seem to be giving way to more of a vibe for, okay, we want growth again.
Yeah, I think, you know, capital discipline is always going to be a core focus for companies and investors, and, you know, it's good to see that margin expansion starting to happen. You know, the growth is, and we were talking in the pre-show about where does the capital come from. You know, I think that capital is also going to come from the seniors in the sector, and they're the engine to help drive in that growth and really create that leverage for investors as they invest in the sector.
Are you seeing other sources of capital, new sources of capital coming into the sector as well? Yeah,
100%. You know, we saw a deal announced last night with an intermediate gold company and a fund out of UAE. You know, we're seeing pockets of capital in the Middle East. We're seeing, you know, different funds popping up in Europe and North America. So, you know, definitely a renewed focus in the sector and people looking for opportunities to deploy capital.
People often say that one thing that starts to attract investors back to the sector is a bit of excitement, and that often comes in the form of M&A, mergers and acquisition activity. We saw a sizable gold transaction announced on Sunday night, taking two mid-tier companies to create a senior company. Do you anticipate that kind of activity will continue as 2025 progresses?
Yeah, look, it's always hard to predict, you know, when deals happen. There's a lot of factors that go into getting a deal across the finish line. But, you know, there's definitely a lot of discussion. You know, M&A can create a lot of value. It can alleviate a lot of risks that companies face, particularly in the junior sector. So, you know, definitely a lot of dialogue happening. And, you know, we have, again, that sense of optimism that we'll continue to see more M&A throughout the year.
How important is optimism in this sector?
Yeah, look, it's always easier to get things done when, you know, the momentum is upward, right? People feel good about their share prices. People feel good about the prospects of development projects and being able to fund them and finance them and build them. The returns start to look better. So optimism is extremely important. And it's just the energy here, you can feel that optimism in the air.
Well, I would certainly agree with you there. Now, there are fewer banks and brokerages in the space with each passing year, and fewer specialist mining funds, and fewer institutions with a retail base. And obviously, retail buying is what drives a lot of share prices, a lot of share price growth. BMO, I think, is one of the few banks which still has a large retail base. How do you see the dynamic of mining financing changing year on year?
Look, it comes back to that question you asked earlier about where are the pockets of capital and finding new pockets of capital. I think we're always going to have the retail investor, that interest in mining, particularly on the gold side. We have the dedicated resource funds here in North America and globally. And there's new pockets of capital popping up that part of our job as investment bankers and service providers to the industry is help our clients find those new pockets of capital.
Okay. Now, the BMO Metals and Mining team has been, I would say, over the years, a wonderful incubator for future mining executives. And I've bumped into many executives here that formerly worked for BMO. And you recently lost a couple of long-standing and well-respected mining industry analysts to the corporate world, Colin Hamilton and Jackie Pray-Belowski. For the sector at large, losing great research talent, that must be an issue, that brain drain, if you like, given that there's arguably less quality and experienced research out there. And many issuers investors I speak of talk about this, and they're concerned that the research analysts, the good ones are fewer and far between. They're asked to cover more and more names. So the concern is they're not going to cover them as well as perhaps they need to or should do or have done in the past. As a sort of key figure in sort of BMO's metals and mining team, how concerned are you about that, and what can be done to address that?
Look, everything is cyclical. We're always having new people come in and seeing former colleagues work in the industry, which, by the way, I think is a great thing. It's great when you look around and see all the familiar faces and people I've worked with over an almost 20-year career. So look, it happens. It happens in every industry, and we're seeing great new talents in the investment banking side, the research side. So the cycle will continue as it always does.
Okay, it looks like it's been a very successful event for you this year. What are some of the highlights for you for this year's event?
Yeah, look, again, the renewed sense of optimism, seeing everybody talking in the hallways, precious metals people are talking about, the base metals people are talking about, the critical materials people, again, are thinking longer term and not just where prices are today. We've seen 2 M&A deals announced while we're at the conference, so there's just a lot going on right now in the industry.
I do get a sense that there's going to be some more M&A coming out of this particular conference, or that was the seeds were planted at this event.
Yeah, it's always interesting, 6 to 12 months from now, reading the circulars of M&A deals, and we met at an industry conference in February, and it gives you a bit of a sense of pride that the event that we're able to put on is that source of dialogue.
Okay, let's end perhaps, Josh, with a forward-looking statement. What are some of the things you expect to see this year, and what will be the bank's role in helping the sector this year?
Yeah, look, everybody wants that crystal ball and hopes they can predict what's going on. I think we're going to see continued capital discipline, continued shareholder returns. I think all that will lead to share price appreciation for the sector. Outperformance hopefully on the commodity side, and that positive momentum leading to more deals, whether it's financing developers, whether it's M&A, and if we can play a small part of that, all the better.
Let me close on a reflection on that. M&A, there is talk of a need to consolidate, that there are too many companies out there. Would you agree with that?
Look, I think M&A needs to be about doing smart deals, not just for the sake of consolidation. Whether that's producers using their cash flow to unlock development projects that might not be financed otherwise, whether that's de-risking of a portfolio. There's a lot of rationale for doing smart M&A, and I think that's what will drive the M&A in the sector this year. Okay, well, Josh, it's certainly a pleasure to be here. Josh Goldfarb, many thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Paul. And we have a lot more to come for the 2025 BMO Global Metals and Mining and Critical Minerals Conference here in Hollywood, Florida. So hit that subscribe button. I'm Paul Harris, and this is Kitco Mining.
Kitco Mining special coverage of BMO's Global Metals, Mining and Critical Minerals is brought to you by First Majestic Silver.